Have you ever thought about how just one word, maybe misunderstood for a long time, could open up a whole new way of understanding a sacred text? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to explore. We'll be looking at the profound teachings of Dr. Hani Adshan from the Marvelous Quran channel on a Quranic concept that does just that.
So let's start our journey with a verse from the Quran. On the surface, it seems pretty straightforward, but it actually holds a puzzle that's really at the heart of this whole misunderstanding.
Here we see the prophet Musa asking God for his brother Harun's help. He says Harun is more fluent in Lissan, and most translations just render that word as tongue or language.
Well, hold on a second. That brings up a really important question. Musa and Harun, they were brothers, right? They grew up in the same house. It's almost certain they spoke the exact same language. So what on earth could Musa have meant when he said his brother's Lissan was more fluent?
To get to the bottom of this, Dr. Adshan points us to a really key distinction from the world of linguistics, and this idea completely changes how we see the problem.
Okay, so first you have the idea of language, or what linguists call lang. Think of this as the entire massive library of a language. I mean, every single word, all the grammar rules, every possible way you could ever express something in, say, English or Arabic. It's the total abstract system.
But then you've got something called locution or parole. Now this isn't the whole library. This is the specific real-world way a person or a whole community actually uses the language. It's like a unique verbal fingerprint with its own special phrases, idioms, and ways of talking.
So here's the bottom line. Language is the giant, abstract toolbox. Locution, on the other hand, is the specific set of tools that a person or a group actually picks up and uses when they talk.
A really simple way to think about this is British English versus American English. It's the same language, the same lang, but they've got totally different locutions, right? One person says lorry, the other says truck. Same language, just different ways of speaking it.
And this is where it gets really amazing. According to Dr. Adshan's teaching, the Quran itself gives us clear-cut evidence for this exact idea of locution.
Let's look at the phrase Ya Abati, which means, "Oh, my father." The Quran shows us this very specific phrase being used by Prophet Abraham. Then we see it pop up again with his son, Ishaq, and again with his descendant, Yusuf. And then generations later, in the time of Musa, there it is again. You know, that's no accident. It's like a linguistic thread connecting all of them to one shared Abrahamic tradition.
What this shows so brilliantly is that Ya Abati is so much more than just a word. It's a marker, a signpost of a very specific locution, the Abrahamic way of speaking that was passed down through the generations.
And the Quran gives us another powerful clue. It talks about prophets Dawood and Isa, who lived centuries apart and spoke completely different languages, and says they shared a single lisan. Now, how could that be? Well, they didn't share a language, but they absolutely shared a common Abrahamic locution.
Okay, so now that we have this amazing insight, let's see how it helps us solve what's been a really big puzzle for interpreters for a very long time. So verse 14:4 is usually translated to say that God sent every messenger in the language of his people. And, at first glance, that seems to make perfect sense.
But this translation actually creates some big problems. First of all, isn't it kind of obvious that a messenger would speak the language of their people? Second, does it mean the Quran's message is somehow limited only to Arabs? And third, you get this strange paradox with the jinn, who aren't human but understood the Quran in Arabic. Are they Arabs? Of course not.
But just watch what happens when we apply Dr. Adshan's teaching here. If we swap out the word language for locution, the meaning of the verse just completely transforms.
The verse isn't just saying that messengers speak a certain language. It's revealing something much deeper, that the Quran itself tells the stories of these past messengers by using elements of their unique way of speaking, their locution. This makes the message incredibly clear and powerful, especially for those communities who are already familiar with those sacred traditions.
And this isn't just some interesting linguistic detail. This distinction actually carries some profound theological weight.
Dr. Adshan teaches that giving any single group of people, whether it's Arabs or anyone else, the final say on the meaning of God's words is a very serious error, especially when the Quran itself provides us with the tools to understand it. So why is this so important? Well, because it means putting a human filter between a person and the divine text. It risks turning a specific group into the gatekeepers of meaning, and that can actually block other people from having their own direct connection with God's message.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Why does it matter to you and me? Because understanding Lissan as locution is basically an invitation. It empowers every single reader to engage directly with the Quran's incredibly rich, layered meanings, using the keys and the patterns, the locutions, that the text itself provides.
And believe me, what we've touched on today is really just the beginning. To go deeper into these incredible teachings, we highly recommend you watch Dr. Hani Atshan on the Marvelous Quran channel.